Alright, and we're now live. Hooray. So yeah, the scheduled lesson of going over the games that you guys sent in featuring the Micro Chinese, not going to be able to do, but not to worry because I have a game for you that actually is a bit surprising how well this turns out. Because immediately, those of you who are watching later can immediately tell that Black is going to be Gu Li. I've gone over him often enough that I'm sure everybody knows who he is. But those are our players today. And even though I don't have submissions from you guys, apparently Gu Li was kind enough to make a game where he played the Micro Chinese, so that fits perfectly, I guess. I suppose. So yeah, not quite what I intended, but worked out well nonetheless. So, well, it's gotten popular, it's shown up a few in professional games, so I think it's actually the reverse. Pros have been playing it, so now it's popular on Taiga, is usually how that goes. Not really the other way around, but yeah. Alright, so we're seeing a very standard opening. You all know what to expect here. Micro Chinese, I've already mentioned it. Though, given the direction that this stone is facing, not a 4-4, so we can't just approach it normally and back off to where we want. We could, on the other hand, approach high. If we're in a bit more of a flexible mood, maybe white wants to get territory and attach to us, then we can make a wall and then kind of fall back into a mini or Micro Chinese that could work. Instead, Gu Li decides to just slap it down immediately, which I guess is fine. I always feel so, I don't know, I'm not sure what I think of this. It's been around for a while, but it seems just odd to me. Because the full variation where you actually have, let's say your approach off the 4-4, a stone here, for example, if white stone was 4-4, and then you back off into this, yeah, okay, you got a framework, I can see it, playing either of these. Playing just this, though, is a little bit weird to me. It has a few more options for white. I mean, theoretically, it can try to force you to enclose. Still, of course, you want to break up that right-hand side. That's pretty much what this is trying to do, make this a large area, so you, of course, have to jump in. You're even more tightly pincered than you would be under normal Chinese variations, and that's where the profit's going to come from. If you have to approach that, you're screwed because you're pincered. So white just goes and approaches the 3-4 stone. Nothing unusual about that at all. Decision has to be made for black, though. Are you really trying to build up a framework? And if so, maybe you're going to play a pincer. Or are you really trying to play more of a territorial opening? In which case, maybe you're going to attach instead for territory. Very simple choices here. Not saying one is more right than the other. I mean, we've seen both variations. Black chooses a pincer, so okay, looks like we might be making a little bit of a framework in the upper right hand if we're able to do so. That would be good for us. Oh god, am I that stupid? Alright, no I'm not. Whew, that was worrisome. I thought for a minute my microphone was muted on my recorder. I have done that before. It's embarrassing. But no, not today, so hooray for that. Now, question. People here on KGS. Does anyone know how to respond to a 2-space high pincer? So I do still see a little bit of trouble picking variations. How do we pick variations? Which variations are, good nowadays? Which ones are even? Which ones are going to cause trouble for us? So let's see. Let's label a few of these, shall we? KJS's answer is always N4. That's what I always expect, Robert T. For like the past more years than I want to say. I've always been saying on KGS, this is probably the most common variation that I have ever seen. Let's see, what else do we have here? One space, jump large, nine. I think that's A. Wait. Oh, or that. Okay, so you're saying that, or the large 9. Okay. Attach at P2. What? 2? Attach? Huh? You mean 3? Okay. Alright, so we're seeing a lot of different options here. A, I do completely believe... Oh, you had to say 04, didn't you, Robert T? Of course you did. You're a Don. Why wouldn't you? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm glad that was said last, though, because A is the most common variation that you could possibly play here. E is the one that you don't want to play unless you really hate yourself, because it's so easy to get into a very complicated situation with E. I almost recommend nobody ever doing it unless you've actually studied the different variations here, of which there are many, and you just feel like messing around in your games. I'm going to pop this down so I don't ruin the tree. Because essentially the reason for that is because this is a small knight, right? And what do we know about small knights? They can be cut. And sure enough, it is going to be cut. But it's not going to be a ladder. Even if this ladder variation is fine, this is still better for black than it is for white. So we really wouldn't want to play this way as white, because we don't really have any comprehension of what we're actually getting here. So no good. Instead, this actually turned into a very, very complicated fight, in which essentially what happens, and I'm going to only go through this much of it, is we can see that we all now have about 5 stones in the... There's like 5 different groups in the area that all have to be looked after. So you could probably do a lecture in and of itself on this variation, because there are so many of them. Needless to say, you can look up the different variations on your own. And maybe eventually I might do a lecture on some of the more complicated Joseki. I've kind of been throwing that thought around the back of my head. But I could do a lecture on like this and Avalanche, not Taisha. Taisha's evil and horrible and no one likes it. Except for Robert T. He likes it. So be careful when playing Robert T. He'll throw variations at you that'll make your head hurt. Jumping out is an interesting suggestion. It's a lot easier to handle than the small knight. Only trouble is, what are we getting here by jumping out? I mean, we're getting a wall. We're getting a wall for something. But at this point, it kind of feels like we really wish that the upper right-hand stone, maybe, was white and not black. So that way we can pincer this and actually gain something here. With this being a black stone instead, a little bit more difficult. A little bit more difficult, because where are we going to pincer? And what is that going to lead to? It's going to lead to jumping out, and then I guess white's going to jump out. And depending on how black wants to continue this variation, we're going to get capped, and then this leads to needing a base. What else can we do here? I guess we can defend the bottom, in which case we're getting into a running fight, and this is just kind of spiraling across the board. Bit difficult to handle at first, but it usually leads to the same variations. And those variations typically take up a lot of the board, so you're pretty much settling a lot of it all at once. Something I don't like doing. I like keeping things nice and simple. That way there's options available later. See, someone already mentioned about ladder. Yeah, okay. let's just go to A, in the actual game. There's enough variations to look at here as well. Typically when we're playing this, a ladder has to be kind of in the back of your mind. You might get into that variation if you know it. It's probably the most common one that I've seen, where black is going to attach. And I'm guessing most of us have already seen this. White's going to Hane. And then, let's see, let's not break the tree. Instead of attaching, for example, one thing that you could do is descend, in which case we might be getting into this annoying ladder variation. Oops, that's out of whatever. In which we have to make certain that this works. Because if this ladder doesn't work for us, then we're just dead. We can just resign here. That was not a good game. If you want to avoid the complicated ladder variation, because this, again, is spilling out all over the place, right? This is a nice set sequence. We know that black has to attach to try to break the ladder. We know that white can't answer and is going to fight this. So a good fourth of the board is going to be decided by this particular variation. And it's pretty much always going to result in the exact same sequence. There is a game in which that happened. I've gone over it before too, I think. So instead of that, if you want to avoid that as white, one way to do so is to attach. And even if black tries to fall back into that variation, you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and Hane here, for example, and now everything's changed. It's kind of looking to settle. We're not going to have to deal with disgusting ladders that are going all over the place. Robert T's been playing R3. Yeah, I usually play R3 instead as well. I don't use the ladder variation anymore. I used to for a while. It was fun. But now I like playing simple and just settling again. But yeah, the Hane here prevents it from going back into anything complicated. Because like I mentioned, if we make a mistake, for example, and try to push, then oops, we've gone back into the ladder variation. Don't want to do that. Hane makes certain that can't happen. Does leave cut points, which black takes, but that's fine. We're just settling. We're making a very, very, very basic exchange here. We're trading influence for territory, right? The most basic exchange you can make in this game. Keep settled in. Gonna go ahead and just live here, no problem. White comes out a bit. Can't cut. It's not very comfortable. We're going to get surrounded in. That's not what we want to do here. So white turns. Black gets to connect. Because we're not going to do this, right? Otherwise, why did we actually connect out? Because all of this is just going to get taken. And we know that this bottom group is going to live. There's no real pressure on the bottom group because they can just turn around and take and live whenever it wants to. It can just jump and come out whenever it wants to. So no real threat there. The reason why we pushed out is to escape. So we're ensuring we can. But doesn't B want influence due to the upper right formation? Black is getting a little bit of influence. He's also getting a little bit of influence on the bottom, which is not bad. These two stones are going to prove to be rather annoying throughout the game. What did I miss? Oh, right. Got to do a turn. Black looks to profit. Now here's an interesting test of how greedy you are. Some players will look at this and they'll be like, you know what? I don't like black trying to get that area. I'm going to approach it immediately. I'm going to just pincer. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, high pincer immediately. Yeah, sure. Maybe even take that star point. Is there anything wrong with that idea? Is that a good idea? Bad idea? What do you think? Is that what White's about to do here? Is White about to play move like K4? Just wreck everything? Everyone wants to do it. Star points have a magic property of being right in every situation. Yeah, totally. That thought will totally get you to 10Q easy. Maybe 5, I don't know. Let's see what we have here. High pincer, not likely, otherwise I wouldn't have brought it up. That's nice. Board is still a placer. Okay, yeah, that's immediately that I want to like. Nope, the board still has bigger places for White to develop. So essentially what he's saying is we could pincer here, but the left is still kind of open. We've got these 2 stones that we can still attack because we've got, some thickness here. Corner might be able to do something about that. Still open, not enclosed yet. So there's a lot of large points we can take for ourselves. So we don't really have to fight over every piece of territory right now, especially when doing so is going to give us a very weak group. Because we can pincer here, but we are kind of against the thickness of this group, which, keep in mind, lives probably in Sente with just 1 move here at R2. So we're going to have a weak group against a strong group. That's just going to kind of get punched around for a while, assuming that black doesn't just change directions and let you worry about this forever and ever and ever. You had to fight Ko after... That's very weird. You had to have ignored a lot of moves there, Uber Dude. I mean, I guess White had something in here for that to have happened. Yeah, I have to be careful of that. I guess that's true. Uber Dude does bring up a good point. I say that's always Sente. But if you do forget to keep checking positions whenever you do have Sente, to make certain that something didn't actually occur in the game to change that, then yeah, you could be wrong and you could find yourself in trouble there. That's true. I will change that then to it should always be Sente as long as you keep an eye on it. Anyway, as more astute people have realized, yes, White simply backs off, leaves Black to figure out how to take the bottom for himself. White would probably like Black to play here, but he doesn't. Doing so would leave this invasion point open, which would be very, very nice for White. That's a lot of odds to take advantage of. Instead, he plays here, ensuring that if the bottom is going to be reduced, it's going to be reduced because something about this stone is going to try to come back out and live, which I think it's going to be comfortable with. That's hard to escape from in this little area. Hard to get in there and leave. So good choice, good choice. But White has Sente, and we mentioned that White has larger moves on the board that he can play. So let's say you're White. Where is your eye falling? Where do you want to play? I mean, the corner's open. We can enclose that. Black didn't jump into D2, so we could maybe kick it E3. That seems like it's a move. We could try and play L4 and take all that territory away. That sounds fun, right? Might be able to live there. Looks like no one likes my suggestions. Oh no. What do we have here instead? Alright, so we have C11 looks good. Let's mark that. Oh, micro versus low. Okay. A battle of the Chinese variations. Interesting. Q11, let's mark that. Where's Q11? Right there. Okay. Robert T agrees, pin to the 2 stones. Mitchell says K17 there. Okay, try to force an enclosure. Q11, awesome, I agree. So says the Freedon. Alright. Really briefly, I want to discuss a little bit of the danger that you're leaving here by playing A. I can't say that it's a bad move, but it is a little bit of an unusual move. Because, as a couple people have pointed out, white does have this influence and these really cool 2 stones that we can attack because they're much too close to it, and they don't have a base for themselves. So if we give black Sente, we can pretty much guarantee that he's going to go back and play something along the right-hand side, maybe get a forcing move first, I don't know, in order to try to defend this and maybe enlarge his area a bit. That way you can't use that influence on those 2 weak stones. That could be a bit of a problem, a little bit of a problem there. We don't want to miss that opportunity, which is why everyone's eyeing in on the pincer of those 2 stones. If we don't attack them now, we might never get the chance to. Whereas if white gets a large move on the left-hand side, that can still be reduced. We're not really claiming a bunch of territory yet there. We're kind of just claiming potential. So white does an interesting decision. He decides to offer up a choice to black. Because we do have the micro-Chinese here. So with this move, he's saying, alright, you can make a base here if you want, and help your stones, but if you do that, I get to approach you pretty safely, which should have been what you wanted me to do all along. Unfortunately, this is also an approach, and usually when we see this approach, our first response is to make some kind of enclosure here, or make this area larger, do something to get as much in this area as possible, but then we're going to be severely attacked on our 2 stones, so we really can't do anything in the corner right now, can we? I mean, that's potentially a very large problem to deal with if white gets another move in here. So, naturally, black pincer doesn't like B13. Huh? Wait, B13 in answer to Q11. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I see. If white took the area here, then yeah, it would give him the option to, no, what, if white Q11 instead? Okay, 1 second. If white this, he doesn't like BR13. Yeah, the threat to go underneath. Yeah, that's pretty severe. I see. Yeah, this is a bit of a problem, because we can't just, for example, jump out, because this is a bit uncomfortable. So we're going to have to do a diagonal to make certain that doesn't happen, which potentially just lets black come on out. Mm-hmm. That's true too. So, black defends. White gets to approach. again. Black threatens to connect under. Something White doesn't want to respond to directly, because if he does, he's going to get pincered, or not pincered, cut rather, because large knights have that darn problem about being cut. So White defends by leaning on the pincering stone. See if he can't fix his problems before coming back to that. Black obviously responds, because we're not going to ignore the shoulder hit on our stone. This way pressure is kept on White. White tries to get stronger. Black keeps responding. And now is a bit of a tough problem for White. We have to defend the cut point, but it's not going to be in Zente. So Black gets to follow up. Now we could run this stone out, but it looks like if we run this out, then Black's just gonna follow us, and we're either going to potentially get cut, or we're getting our cut point poked at N15. Not a very good situation there. White moves to settle. Black responds. And here's something interesting that I wasn't sure if I liked this or not. White decides to be very, very aggressive here and go after Black's shape point. This has odd timing to it. On one hand, it's making sure that Black can't further develop the top side, which sure he'd like to do with the newfound influence that he has. Makes sense. On another hand, it seems that this group isn't 100% okay just yet, so that's probably going to get attacked later. Black responds normally, and then White decides to actually live here. Forcing a few weak points in Black's shape, but he's not alive yet, so we can't try to cut and take advantage of anything here. We just need to connect up. And now we've seen White run along the second line. I don't like it. I mean, on one hand, we have potential. I mean, right here, looking at the board as is right now, we still have a cut point that maybe we can take advantage of somehow. But Black is getting a lot of influence, and Black isn't going to leave this position as is. Black, for example, is not going to go off and play a Gote move somewhere else on the board to let White keep capitalizing on this. I mean, Black's going to keep playing locally to make himself stronger, which we see immediately. It's a move every single person is going to find, because we've all been in a situation where our opponents run connected, and we know that we can get away with a lot here because he has to worry about his own shape. So White plays a Hane. Black double Hane, or Black responds with a Hane, because he knows that his shape is good. Oh, I'm sorry, Black influences Eyeless, so we can't go crazy with it. I think it's stronger than you're giving it credit for there, Robert. Because we can't really cut this yet. And yet if we back off, it's going to be too good. So White cuts. Now here's an interesting question for you. How do we handle this situation? How do we get the most out of C15? We have one person voting to defend. Ooh, everyone wants to kill. Look at that bloodlust. C17, capture the stone. Yeah, here we actually see the descent. White defends, black turns. Yeah, giving that Pinocchio would be very generous. I think we'll go over that in a bit as well. White extends, as you would expect, because he wants to try to keep this killed. And now here's a situation that's probably admittedly better for those who are 5Q up, because you're probably more likely to see this in your games than those below. Alright, that is completely useless sentence, depending on what your definition of up and down is. Essentially, 5Q and stronger is what I'm referring to. And essentially that is, there's still a cut point here. This cut point didn't go away. And as we can see here, we're still going to get that capture in that you guys all wanted. But the exchange is, we're not giving that Pinocchio away, because that's worth a lot. So this is maximizing the Aji. That's what I was looking for, to see what page you guys were on. And as we saw, a lot of, around 7 to 11 Qs all wanted to immediately play to capture that stone. Very directly. Good to see that you can. Oh, sorry, Merrick. Didn't mean to generalize. So we get to capture this. In Sente. Whoops. No! Tree! Beautiful tree. Oh, darn it. Atari, take, connect. I don't. I just get to talking and then I think I've clicked somewhere that I haven't. Anyway. So now what do we do here? Any ideas? Because this is the second part of taking advantage of this. Well, we're still gaining. We're still gaining. We haven't given up the gain yet. That's the second part of descending. The first part is the cut point still existed. The second part is the fact that these stones now have extra liberties. Right, D14, good start, yeah. And if we extend, E15, right, D13. Alright, so we're on the right path. White, of course, wants to ensure that's going to get captured. And now here's where we're pointing out, shame that we don't have the ladder. True, it's a shame we don't have the ladder. But that's still okay, there's still a lot of Aji to be had here. Because when White extends, we're afforded a fun opportunity. What is it? F14? No, not quite. Any of the Dons want to give it a shot? And those of you who are watching later on video, I'm sorry to leave you guys completely out of it, because I notice that every time I say, do you want to give it a shot, I'm hovering my mouse over the correct answer. So I really need to stop doing that for my videos. Because there's no guesswork involved there for you guys who are watching it later, is there? Just absolutely none. Alright. Very good, BMIC. We can go ahead and net this a bit. Because white can push out, but we can Hane, and that's not something that he wants to play anymore. We could extend, but again, the question is, where does this go? Not rhetorical. What do we do if white plays this way instead? Let's say here. Any ideas? Mm-hmm. Yep. We can do this because there's no time to Atari Black Stones, are there? We have to go back and take all of these. So all white's really succeeded is in giving black an even larger wall here. Oops, too far. So white's not going out any further. He's just going to take. Black has to Atari, white takes. Don't want to lose those stones now, so we're going to Atari again. White connects. And admittedly, we have some Aji there that we have to worry about. But it's not Aji we have to worry about right now, because if white is really trying to play a cut, let's say, at G15, that's way too small. We don't care about it in any way. I mean, later on, towards endgame, we might start worrying about that, or maybe if maybe our group is surrounded, we have to actually make eye shape, we'll start worrying about that. But for now, we have Sente. So black pokes. And white, of course, defends. And now, unfortunately, we're at interesting part of the game. Very interesting part of the game. Because the top group, both for white and black, are pretty well settled. The right, can't really imagine that Q13 going anywhere. Black's shape on the right has pretty much been fixed. There's a little bit of a weak point in white's shape on top, but it's kind of hard to figure how we're going to block it from just connecting, as well as coming out and making shape. So it's this point that black goes back and decides to continue profiting. So this is a nice little area that we can expand on. Make certain that nothing unusual as well is either going to, come back in here and haunt us later. And it also threatens to enlarge that center. White Hane, black plays double Hane, and we see a situation that everyone's been in before. Atari, extend, extend. White Hanes, black cuts, because there's a lot of Aji there. So white threatens to capture, which obviously black isn't going to allow happen. And now we're in an interesting situation. The center is getting a bit complicated again. Because white has to worry about little things like, being completely cut off here. This stone is coming into direct use because it's cutting off where it's giving us somewhere that we can potentially run to. It's cutting off where white could potentially connect up to. still have a forcing move lingering around. So it's making real good use of that stone. White comes up. Black moves to kill off the 2 stones. And now there's an interesting little shape problem here that we see. White can throw in, and taking is a little bit of a problem. And that we're going to have ugly shape, and there's nothing we can do about it. Right? All forced, nothing we can do here. Don't want to get captured. But it also means that black got to kill some stones. That's pretty handy. In exchange, though, what did black get? We can see quite a bit here. He was trying to enlarge that bottom, and he's connected everything up across the board. You have to be very, very careful here as white as to just how much this is actually worth. Because that center, as everyone's pointing out in the chat, can easily be gigantic. Whose turn is it? It's white's turn. Okay. No, it's black's turn. Right, so black threatens. White gets to continue and try to poke at the Aji, because there's a lot of it. Not going to let his cutting stone get captured, so he extends. And now we get into a little bit of a complicated situation, where we do have quite a bit of Aji lingering around. And because all of this Aji, that after white fixes his shape, black decides to remove it and kill those cutting stones before they come back and try and push out. But we are, once again, in an interesting situation, because if we're not careful, now that our stones are cut off, I mentioned that this might be okay to leave for later, but if this is going to be our eye, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. So we can't really ignore this area right now. We don't want to get killed here, for example, because, yeah, black's not alive yet. So white tries to surround black. Thankfully, his own stones are not that strong, so black can actually respond aggressively, and not just, for example, immediately retreat and try to find some way to live. How much Aji is in R6? Ah, down there. Well, that's an interesting question, because that's an interesting answer. That's an interesting question because the Atari here leads to another Atari which forces a take, and there are cutting stones, or there are potential cutting points we have to worry about. Locally, just without any of that, we can, take and go down, which is fairly nice. We can't actually run that stone out, clearly. We can see it doesn't really go anywhere. But it's got forcing moves here. This cut becomes a little bit irritating. This stone, however, as long as this doesn't work, it's not too bad. So we have to watch this Mage doesn't really get stronger at all, otherwise we're in a lot of trouble. Q6 makes it Q6, that makes it so that G15 is go. What? What's G15? G15 is over there. Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Alright, I see what you're saying. Was this the actual game, or did I miss up the tree again? Is this? No, that was my branch. Okay. So, white doesn't want to get surrounded and killed, so he extends. Has to protect. And this is probably a timed Suji. I guess he was low at this point. Making sure that he's okay, and he's not going to get killed, I suppose. Maybe counting. Though, speaking of counting, that's actually a good idea. Has anyone actually been counting this yet? Anyone have any rough estimations as to who's ahead? I'm not looking for exact numbers here. Thank you, Malfazar. Black does look like he's a bit ahead, isn't he? Because what does Black have? Black potentially has the right-hand side leading to the corner, the bottom along with a few stones. What does White have at the moment? Well, White's got the left-hand side. That's nice second-line territory. Maybe some more second-line territory on the top. A corner with a bit of a vital defect here at R2 that can really, really shrink it. And now, whatever this corner winds up being. So it seems, without even getting into exact numbers here, that unless White actually manages to kill something, he's going to be in trouble. He needs to kill something or cut something off, but he can't just passively go into endgame right now. Otherwise, Black's going to be ahead and he's just going to get crushed. So he needs something in order to try to turn this around. Unfortunately, he has to defend himself and make certain he's not going to get cut to pieces, so he doesn't really have that option right now. So we see defense. After that defense, Black doesn't want to get cut to pieces, so he looks after his shape. Protects his corner. But one stone, not necessarily Sente. So Black's taking very large moves immediately. Can't possibly let those stones get alive again before responding. Takes G15. That's an interesting one. Now White might potentially be able to take these three stones there at D18, otherwise if he connects throw in, that's a bit of a painful thing there. So White first asks if he can kindly cut off everything and kill it, to which Black is not agreeable, so White goes back and defends. But now that he's defended, White can actually drop down, so has to connect, make certain that we don't get cut off there. And from here, this is mostly going to be mostly endgame now. I mean, White tries some reductions. Here, for example, is a pretty large one, because we still have yet to see how this group is alive, right? It's kind of on its own, and it's even lost its happy little place where it can make eye shape. Got captured. So this connects on up. Can't cut through, so I don't have to respond here. Instead, it plays here. Now, this is interesting. The reason why this can't die is because that stupid little Hane there. We can't let it happen. If we actually play to kill these stones, we're going to lose our own. That's not something we want to do. We have to play here. Because if we Atari, that's now poking a very, very, very important point. So we can't play that way. So because of that, white is probably... No, you should have extended first. Now you play that. White gets to try for a potential kill if he really wants to. He doesn't. Just takes. Probably too many threats. That tree's already dead. Good riddance. And at this point, I think black is a little bit ahead. Though we could continue going through all of the endgame, of which there is much. Instead, I will simply... Do I have a link? I don't have a link, do I? Do I have a link where I can just paste the rest of this? I do, okay. And those of you who are watching later, you can see it down below. I've posted the link where you can download this as well. Well, the thing is, I could go through this, but if I'm actually going to go over all of the endgame, it's going to take, like, what, 15 or 20 minutes? But you can look at the game in its entirety there, undestroyed by my misclicks. Did anyone have any questions about the game? Those of you who are here, some of you have messaged me, where is last week's lecture? Or no, sorry, the last lecture, week before last. That's not ever making it onto YouTube because I did not tell Twitch to save it, so it was deleted. Sorry about that. I will be telling this one to save. I'll be uploading this one tonight to make sure that doesn't happen. Also, something in the back of my head that I'm contemplating is I'm thinking about streaming soon, and I think I might actually be switching over to YouTube to stream. Because they're really, really working on their streaming applications right now. It's not, you can't really be surprised, Frozen Soul. YouTube, there's no way they were staying out of the streaming forever. I mean, Twitch is pretty much taking everything, and they really, really, really want to get in on that advertisement money. I'm assuming. Why have you... I have lost a few games. I'm waiting for a few more. That way I can have a nice episode where I showcase all of my losses. Maybe set to Yakety Sax or something. I really want to do something nice for that video. Tetris could be fun too. Tetris could be fun too. Those I have saved permanently, so I'm just kind of waiting to upload those. Ooh, look at that. From Robert T. He says that I can play versus him if I need more lost games. That's nice. Perhaps I will on my... Do you actually have a... Let's go into Robert T's info real quick. What is your actual rank on that account? I'm seeing 3D question mark? I'm almost there at 3 done. So I might do that. I might have to tell my co-commentator to shut up, though, if I'm playing that game. I don't know if I want to play the captain again. I played him a few times before under hidden accounts. He might actually be the end boss. I think it was actually one of his my last games against him that I stopped playing here, ranked. No, I didn't lose. I actually killed him, which was really, really fun. What are you retracting? Why are you... Why? It would be fun beating the crap out of me, Frozen Soul. A Haidon Simul? What rank do you think I am? I can't do a Haidon Simul. Okay, no, anyone can do a Haidon Simul. I'm sorry, that's not true. Anyone can do a Haidon Simul. But if we're actually going to do a Haidon Simul, I recommend that you do it, Bongo Bob. I'll comment that game. Maybe, why isn't it April? That'd be so awesome to get that working for like an April 1st video. Anyway, if there are no other questions about this game, the link is in the chat, and there's one other thing I wanted to point out. Thanks to everyone who's been donating recently. I don't thank you guys enough. If anyone does wish to donate, you are welcome to at the link provided. And if you have a game of your own that you play the Micro-Chinese, either against or maybe you've played it, you can take that game and send it to me at the email provided. So I'm still looking to do that lecture, where I explore some of the games that you guys have played and see how you fare either with or against the Micro-Chinese. Yes, that's my cable company. They are Zoom Internet. I will not be playing against San Rinsei anytime soon. I did have a request to actually play the San Rinsei, and I've been trying that one on IGS. If you've been following those games, you probably know that I've commented on them the past 2 games now, I think. I think I have them both up. I don't remember. Yeah, I am trying to get them, but I had white. Yes, both games. But it was requested enough. I'm trying to do it. My next game that I play as Black will be played with me doing the San Rinsei. So that should be interesting. I hate Sand Wednesday too. But everyone wants it, so I have to do it. Anyway, thank you guys all for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the game. And I will see you all next time.